This power is not on. It's actually ulta. No, not that. Computers. So off is on, I think. Here the red light will come. No? Now he did it. Yeah, it's coming. I think I'm able to see it here. Huh?
The camera on.
The red light is on, no?
Yeah.
If it is not on, if the power is draining, it will start blinking and charging and all
Now
that.
it's on.
Okay. Sure? It's a bit, huh? Okay, so we saw up to 63rd shloka last class. And the 63rd shloka has a very interesting end, if you had noticed. Sri Krishna talks so much in about 680 plus shlokas in the 18 chapters, and he ends with one shloka which is officially the last shloka, which is 63rd, and the last line of the shloka says Vimrushya etat aseshena Yata ichasi tata kuru. This is the masterpiece of Indian wisdom. This is the masterpiece of Indian thought. 685 shlokas he talks and then says, Vimrushya, you think. Etat Vimrushya aseshena, of course, thoroughly. Thoroughly think about all these. Aseshena Vimrushya etat. Yata ichasi tata kuru. So that is how this is the grace of the Lord. This is an indication of grace of the Lord. No, you can't say I know everything, so thumb the desk. You have to do the way I say. I think what a grace in this whole text. After 685 shlokas, he says you think, and then after you think thoroughly, what you want to do, you do. So that is how he ended Bhagavad Gita. We more or less stopped there. Of course, then what he does is he has put just 2 shlokas. With this he basically ended Bhagavad Gita. Vimrushya etat aseshena yata ichati tata kuru. I have said all these, but use your power of thinking and power of reflection. What you want to do, you do. That's how I think 1863 is the last official shloka in Bhagavad Gita in terms of teaching. But then, because he thought he will summarize the entire teaching in 2 shlokas. So these are the charma shlokas, the shlokas which are normally uttered at the end. So that we didn't see, we just saw the preamble to that. So we will see those two shlokas. After that, it is just a winding up formality of a few things. So we will see that and bring this text to a finish. I think this, can you, somebody switch it on, switch it off and switch it on, it may work. No, we had to switch it off once. Sometimes, now after the blink stops, you can. Sometimes it ceases, the screen ceases, I think. It came, I think, suddenly went off. It did come. Yeah. Hopefully it will come. Let's see. So this Sridhar has not come, it is not allowing me to go forward. It's on? It's on, Ankur? No, it will take, no, it takes a little time to come, I think. I will try here. No, it's not coming. Huh? No, this is all through a... it's coming. I think it is coming, I think. No, it's gone to blue again. Oh. Let's see. Now this control is working. Hopefully. Let me now try this other trick. No, that is on actually.
Saying PC, shall I press laptop?
Oh, yes. It's as simple. I must have wrongly pressed, I think. Yes. Since I use the same classroom only in a PC mode, I think my reflex has gone to PC. Anyway, okay. Yeah, so I was just saying that, let me recapitulate it. And so we have seen up to 1863, and as I was saying, this is really a masterpiece of Indian wisdom and grace. After 685 shlokas, Sri Krishna says that, etad vimrishya aseshena yata ichasi tata kuru. Now you think thoroughly and do what you want to do. And this is the greatness of this whole literature. This is a sample. This is the greatness of our culture actually. We don't believe in forcing anything. We are not dogmatic. We are very open. We believe this is true democracy at the end of the day, if you were. Anyway, so having said this, he just wanted to put the whole thing in just 2 shlokas, which are the Charama shlokas, which we will see. Anyway, so we have seen all these. And we have seen up to 63, actually 64. The 65, 66 are the Charama shlokas, which we will see. And there are about 12 more shlokas with which the text comes to an end. So this is where I stopped last class. So he says, Sarva Guhyatamam Bhuyaha Shrunu. Once again, hear from me. Bhuyaha is again. Shrunu. Me Paramam Vachaha. Me Paramam Vachaha. Hear from me my final word once again. So that's what he says. So he has finished by 1863. But then he just says, Sarva Guhyatamam. This is the profoundest. See, Guhya is not secret. One word, one meaning of Guhya is secret. Another meaning of Guhya is which is very deep in a Guha, which is profound. Some knowledge which is profound is not readily available. You can just put it here. It is not available. So in that sense. So this profoundest truth. Once again hear from me. And he says, why I want to say you again? Ishtaha asi. You are very close to me. Me ishtaha asi. Dridamiti tato vakshyami. I like, there is an unwavering closeness and liking that I share with you. That's what he is saying. So he is saying, Ishtosi me dridam. Iti tato vakshyami te hitam. For your hitam I will say. So this is where we stopped. So we'll see those two charama shlokas, with which Sri Krishna summarizes the entire teaching of Bhagavad Gita in 2 shlokas. Shloka 65, which is the first charama shloka, which is a repeat of the last shloka in chapter 9, in a way. So look at how nice this text is. 18 chapters, he picks up the last shloka in the middle of it, in the first half of it. So which means up to chapter 9 there is a thought which has been summarized. So he has picked up that, because there is only a slight difference. That's why I put the 34th shloka of chapter 9 below. Anyway, this shloka says, Manmana bhava, madbhaktaha, madhyaji mam namaskuru, mameva yeshyasi, satyam te pratijane, priyaha asime. So he has summarized a lot of teachings with this one shloka, which says, Manmana bhava. Think of me all the time. Madbhaktaha, Madhyaji, you, whatever you offer unto me. That's what he's saying. Madhyaji, Mam Namaskuru, surrender unto me. Namaskuru is not a literal sense of offering the pranams in front of a deity or a temple. What he means by saying this is, the first line says, what should your approach to karma? Because it all starts with karma. Karma yoga. And Bhagavad Gita up to the 18th chapter is about karma. It's all about how do we handle something called work. That's why I put here, see, if somebody is awake and alive, which we are, until we breathe our last, we are alive. Mostly awake. Awake, mentally awake. You need not be physically awake. What I mean is mentally awake. If we are alive and awake, there are two things which we will do. Nobody can stop. One is we will play a role of a karta. Something we will keep doing. We will always play a role of karta. When we are alive and awake, we have to play a role of karta. We will also play a role of bhokta. Nobody can escape this. As long as we are alive and awake, we will continuously engage in something or other, and not engaging is, I have told several times, not engaging is another way of engaging into work. It's a very superficial understanding. That's why he says there is nothing, karmo jaya hi akarmakaha. He has never ruled out the possibility of no work. So I think not doing work is another work. So we are always engaged in work. So the question is, how do you engage in work? That's where he says, manmana bhava madbhaktaha. The first two phrases say that, in fact I talked about it in the last class, we talked about it. Ishwararpana buddhihi and prasada buddhihi. These are the two, there are the only two strengths in life. If we cannot hold these two, life will be hugely challenged. That's why he said, nimitta matram bhavasabhya sachin in 11th chapter. Always remember you are an instrument of me. And how do you remember it? Man manabha. That thinking will come when your mind is always fixed at the Lord, at the divine grace. So man manabhava madbhaktaha. That talks about what is called, Ishwararpana buddhi, madhyaji. That also Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. That is conveys it even more. So when we do work, there are two thoughts which must engulf us. One is we are instruments. This is a great yajna in this world. Our intellect cannot catch even iota, a small piece of it. What a wonderful yajna that is going on in this world. We cannot explain anything that is happening in this life. Not only what is happening to me, in fact, I cannot explain what is happening to me. Leave alone what is happening to you, or what is happening in the neighborhood, and what is happening in the society, samaja. This is a grand yajna. This is a divine order. And if we can recognize that it is a divine order and we are one particle which is part of this random work that is happening, that itself will give us strength to do work. It's all about gaining that strength to do work. So that is what he says, Manmanabha Madbhaktaha Madhyaji. Mam Namaskuru is that prasada buddhi. So how do we become a bhokta? That will come only if we have prasada buddhi. That means we will not spend too much time in evaluating the outcomes and then getting very upset about it one way or the other, or getting too happy about it only to prepare for the next upset. I think both ways it is not a great idea. Too much of happiness is actually a rain check for sadness later. It's not something which is either ways. That's why the entire Bhagavad Gita it talks about, it says, Sama dukkha sukha swastaha, sama loshtashma kanchanaha, mana apamanayos tulyah, tulya mitrari pakshayoho, tulya nindatma samstuti. So many in chapter 14, the 23rd and 22nd, 24th slokas, in which all that one last time he explained in great detail. So that will come only if we have prasada buddhi. If we can have that attitude to take results. We need a certain attitude to be a karta, and we need a certain attitude to be a bhokta. Because these are the two roles we will always play when we are awake and alive. That is what he is concluding here. He says, think of me meaning understand this grandeur of this world. This Jagat is a great yajna. It's a divine yajna in which we are all taken role. We have appear on a particular day, disappear on another day, and there is a time gap between the two, and the best thing that we can do is get humbled by this great yajna that is happening, in which we are also anyway playing a role. So that is what he talks about, Manmana Bhava Madbhaktaha Madhyaji. And Mam Namaskuru is a great indication of what Draupadi did when her modesty was challenged in the court. She surrendered. Surrender is not easy. Surrender requires enormous strength. People think, that's why the adjective used along with surrender is meekly surrender. Because they think surrender is a very simple idea of people who are weak. Never. Surrender is impossible. You cannot surrender a slightest of your personal space in life. We cannot surrender the smallest of our preferences in life. And what are we talking about? Here he is talking about, look at chapter 4. Look at shlokas 24 to 32. 8 fantastic shlokas on yajna. It says, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi. From that, 7 yajnas are described. That is the surrender. How in prana is surrendered, in apana they are all surrendered, in samyama agni, all these are wonderful ideas. Those 8 shlokas actually define surrender. Impossible to do that surrender. So that surrender will actually give us strength. We will not become weak. We will become much more wise, much more disposed towards outcomes as they come up every moment of life. So that is what he says, Mam Namaskuru. So by doing that, Mameva Yeshyasi Satyam Te Pratijane Priyo Asime. You are so close to me, I am telling you the truth. You will reach me, you will come unto me. You will reach me and reach me alone. Is what. So in a way, he has said that a true spirit of Karma Yoga would eventually take you to Bhakti. Bhakti is the bridge between Karma and Jnana. Without that bridge, you will not be able to go to that realization called Jnana. And the work must lead us to devotion. The attitude to work is half the work for devotion. If life is not allowing us, the 24 by 7 what we do does not give us sense of devotion. Devotion will not come arbitrarily for a half an hour in the morning or half an hour in the evening. It is not going to happen. That's why work, karma yoga will eventually lead to bhakti yoga. And that bhakti yoga will make us chitta shuddhi for us, give us that chitta shuddhi. The worldly things will not bother us anymore. So that is the first summary he has in a nutshell. That's what anyway he said in chapter 9, slightly differently, as you see here. Manmana bhava, mad bhaktaha, madhyaji mam namaskuru. Same line that you see, which is repeated. Mameva eshyasi, up to that. So the essence is the same. It's just the adjectives that are added after that. Mameva eshyasi yuktaha evam atmanam matparayanaha. Same idea said in a different way. Here what it is saying. So the first message in Charama Shloka that Krishna has given is do work. Do work with Ishwararpana Buddhi and Prasada Buddhi. You will clean up yourself. You will become pure while you are in work. Purity and sannyasa, that has been the discussion throughout in Bhagavad Gita up to 18th chapter. Purity and sannyasa and all that does not come by running away from work. The work evolves us. That's why in chapter 3 itself he said, Na karmananam anarambat naishkarmam purushaha ashnute. We have to start the work. Work is the only way we will purify ourselves. So that is the first message that he gives in Shloka 65. Then he goes to the second message, which says, Sarva dharman parityajya, mam ekam sharanam vraja, aham tva sarva papebhyah mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. The most interesting part of this shloka is it ends with shuchaha. Shuchaha is the word with which this ends. After this there are no more teachings. This is again a summary of the thing in two shlokas. And if you look at the first shloka in the teaching, you know what is the first shloka in the teaching, which is the 11th shloka in chapter 2? Ashochan anvashochastvam prajnavadamscha bhashase gatasun agatasuncha nanu shochanti pandita. He said he started with Ori and he ended with Ori. So he says ma shuchaha here. There he says nanu shochanti panditaha. Here he says ma shucha. The word shuch, the shochana, that concern, the mental agony and the concern that we have, he started with that shloka, he ended with that phrase. Ashochan, that's what he started, ma shucha. Both are synonymous. So nicely the chapter, the text ends with the starting idea as being the ending idea. Say that's a very coincidental thing here. But anyway, say sarva dharman parityajya. So he says, give up all dharma. So what is this sarva dharman parityajya? That's one issue that comes. Now that dharma is a way of living. At one level, if we look at, if sarva dharman means dharma, adharma, the whole gamut of the ecosystem related to dharma. That is sarva dharman, parityajya. You leave. And mamekam sharanam vraja, does that mean you give up all the dharmas, is the question that comes. Correct? Essentially what he is saying is, if we do the chitta shuddhi, we do work as he mentioned in the previous shloka, if we get the purity of mind, remember in 33rd shloka in chapter 4, there is in fact, chapter 4 has all these ideas very nicely put there. In 33rd shloka in chapter 4, he says, Sarva karma kilam partha gyane parisamapyati. There is one statement he makes. All work that you do must end in jnana. The point he is making is, which means the karma yoga will eventually take you to jnana yoga. That's why, that chapter is called Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. That's so both the words are put there. Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Karma Sannyas will take you to Jnana and then that's how it happened. That is the message there. So the point that Sri Krishna is making here is, with a very clarified understanding, with a chitta shuddhi, what will happen is, this notion of dharma and adharma will desert you. You will not desert it. It will desert you. It will desert from you. And what does it mean? That means, see, dharma is required for a world of vyavahara. We don't need dharma otherwise. Dharma is required only when you are in the world of vyavahara, not in world of parama. In paramarthika, we don't talk about dharma. If you look at the Purva Mimamsa, the front part of the Veda, it's all about vyavahara. That's why there are do's and don'ts, nishidha karma, naishkamya karma, nimitta karma, prayaschitta karma, all those are there. In other words, if we are so much engaged in work with a certain dimension of results and so on, then we must be bound by this codified principle called dharma. That is the meaning there. Now, if you have been able to clarify yourself and come to that level of doing work, then what it means is, since you are not interested in this, what is in it for me and intensity, so you will align yourself to the cosmic rhythm of doing things. For such people, dharma is not required. In other words, all the dharmas will become personal values. In chapter 13 when we talked, I mentioned this. One nice example of personal values. What is a personal value? A personal value is one in which the values have become part of you. You don't think twice to even ask, should I do it this way or that way? The example, which I give from Dayananda's book is, you are so hungry, you are almost dying of hunger, and in the dustbin there is a leftover food there, nobody will take and eat it. Because that has become a personal value now. There is not even an iota of thought to even think about it. You would rather die than do it. So when this whole idea of karma, the whole idea of dealing with the world, with the entities and around us, has become a personal value for us. That's what Krishna is saying in the previous shloka. Madhyaji, Mam Namaskuru, everything, Ishvara Arpana Buddhi and Prasada Buddhi. Then this world of dharma and adharma is not something which is going to map into your cognitive scheme of things. It is not just going to map. It may be there, it doesn't map into you. And you are not going to cause any harm in this process because it didn't map, because it is almost ingrained into our ways of things. That is what a karma yoga and a bhakti yoga will take us to that level. So mameva yeshyasi will happen like this. He says all these will slowly, and in Vedanta the example they give is, if you have a very neatly folded, take a book. Take a nice book which is completely burned to ashes. For outside world it will look like a book. If you go and touch it will crumble. It's well ducked up, there is a word for it. A burnt cloth is the word they use. Dakta pata is what they use in Vedanta. A cloth which is burnt and lying and it's also white color, At a distance it will look like an ordinary thing, and if you go there you find nothing there. In the same way, this gyani, the person who has surrendered everything, who becomes really in the threshold of becoming a gyani, for the outside world he will look very similar. It is about the world inside, it is not about the world outside world. He will also do vyavahara, he will also do everything. But the force from which it is happening and what maps into the cognitive system will be very, very different. That is why he said in chapter 3 in I think 27th shloka or somewhere, Guna Guneshu Vartante iti matva dharayan. He will say all that happening outside are all dealt with these equipments. I am not even part of the equipment. So for outside, for all of us, it looks as though, we will ask what is the difference between a jnani. For outside world it will look very similar. The inside world is very different. So that's why, he doesn't have to show all that. That's why this famous example that if I am a great cook, right? It doesn't mean I have to carry the cooking vessel or one spoon, spatula with me all the time to show I am a cook. You will see it when I cook. That's how a jnani is. Inside you don't know what, he doesn't have to apply a big poster on his forehead, I am a jnani now, nor he has anything to do. That is the state. So he will be in the world. He will actually, radiate that much of goodness in the world. He will engage in all kind of vyavaharas, as Ramakrishna Paramahamsa also did, Ramana Maharishi also did. Any number of great seers we are seeing through even today. Outside it looks very, very similar. At times, they will also have, shout at somebody, all that will happen. But you don't know what is happening. Behind the screen, you don't know what is happening. That will be this state. So he says that will happen to you. You will actually do this. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam braja. You will see this oneness slowly. That bridge is that bhakti yoga. Madhyaji, mam namaskuro, mad bhaktaha, mam namaskuro. All that will take us here. So he says this is what is the threshold for jnana. The jnana nishta that we get, this is a threshold. He says you will go there. That is the second summary. This is the next 10 chapters are revolving around this in a way. So he says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam braja, aham tva sarva papebhyah mokshayishyami. You are worried. That's why I started by saying ashochan anvashochastvam. People do not worry about things which they ought to be not worrying. That's how he started. That's why he says, na anushochanti panditaha. Gatasun agatasun cha na anushochanti panditaha. A pandita does not worry about coming and going, what's happening now, what will happen later, what happened in the past. So they will become kalatita in a way. This domain of time is not going to bother them anymore. So that will happen, he says here. Mashucha. You take off this worry, because if you surrender and melt into it, the worry is gone. Just as the river has melted and poured into the ocean, everything is over. There's no more river. I do not have to worry about whether I'll get dried up in the summer months or what will happen. All those are no worries. Once it merges with the ocean, that's the end. It's part of infinity. Purnat purnamudachyate, purnasya purnamade, purnameva avasishyate. Infinity minus infinity is equal to infinity. You will get into that state. So he says that is what will happen. And so relinquishing all dharmas is not a voluntary and a conscious effort. I just want to clarify that. I don't think it is a voluntary or a conscious effort. It only means to say that when the chitta shuddhi happens, you become part of this divine yajna called world with so much rhythm that all these are unnecessary. They are all imbibed into personal values, so all these are unnecessary. So they are all there, but that is of no use for me. You will reach that state. That is what he means by that. You will surrender unto me. So that is the real path of jnana. Which, so in these two shlokas, he in a way summarizes. So there is this Shanti Parva, there is this shloka in Mahabharata. It says, Tyaja dharmam adharmam cha ube satya nrite tyaja. So only when you are the domain of dharma and adharma, then this satya and anrita, truth and untruth, all those are reference frames there. He says, remove the reference frame. The tyaja, what it means is, take the reference frame out of you. There is no more reference frames like that. That's the meaning of tyaja. It is not giving up, it is taking the reference frame out. There is no more reference frame like that. So he says, tyaja dharma adharmam cha ube satya nrite tyaja. Ube satya nride tyaktva. Having taken this reference frame, your reference frame will also go. You give up that also. You melt and surrender unto this oneness. So that's what he says. Ube satya nride tyaktva yena tyajasi, with which that you are giving up, give up although. Right? In fact, this Paul Brenton asked Ramana Maharishi, Swamiji, is it that I have to give up all my possessions? And replied Ramana Maharishi, including the possessor too. That's what he said. That is this last part. Because if you keep the possessor with you, that surrender is difficult, ahankar. So Paul Brenton was told, including the possessor too. Do I give up everything? Including the possessor too. Ramana Maharishi will tell one word or two words. You have to reflect on days for that. One word or two words. You have to really reflect on that for days. I keep hearing some pravachans in which lots of Ramana Maharishi episodes. I am very happy to hear that. One more episode I will tell, the greatness of this person. One poor man came, very poor man, I think woodcutter or somebody. He came in chaste Tamil, he told Ramana Maharishi, my wife is dead. He was really pouring his emotions. Bhagavan told him, gave him a piece of Vedanta. No, all of us, when they come, we have to go, you have to. All that is some nice Vedanta teaching. So his famous disciple, Kavyaganta Ganapati, he was by his side. After this man went, he asked him, what Bhagavanji, he is a very ordinary individual. You are telling very big things to him. What will he understand out of it? And you should have told him, some things to take care of his food and all that. Ramana Maharshi smiled at him and told him, see, whatever each one of us know, we must say that. I know only this, therefore I said this. Now, in lot of Ramana Maharshi episodes are like this. He will make one observation like that. 2 days, 3 days later, he will tell something that will connect to this. And it will open a profound thinking. This is a very characteristic way Ramana Maharshi does. So he told, what can I do? I know only this. So whatever you people know, you tell him, this is what I know, therefore I told him. It was over. 2 days later, there was somebody who was asking some question. He narrated him a story. The story goes like this. And now you have to connect that story to this conversation. That is a homework for us. And it's so profound. He said, 2 beggars were sleeping. 2 very poor beggars were sleeping in the night. And one beggar was dreaming. He was dreaming that he was a samrat. In dream we have no limits. We can do whatever we want to do. So he was dreaming about wealth. He was dreaming about what kind of fortune. Ramana Maharshi is narrating this story. He was dreaming about all the wealth he had, everything. And so as the dream goes on, the thieves are taking the gold bars or whatever, some jewels or something, they are running. This is part of the dream. So this beggar who is dreaming, in the middle of the dream he started shouting, oh, catch him, catch him, catch him. He was, it happens to many of us, the dream gets so involved, we will also become part of the dream. This is like that mirage. Water is there, water is also not there. Because that part is reality, but there is no reality either. It's a mithya, not satya. Anyway, so he started shouting, catch the thief, catch the thief. He was really shouting in the middle of the sleep. The other fellow got disturbed. He got up. He realized, and he was shouting, he's taking money and running, he's taking jewels and running, something, he is shouting. So Ramana Maharshi asked this person, what should you do now? Should you go and catch the thief, or should you wake him up? This is a question he asked. Will you wake him up and tell him what you are seeing is dream, or will you go and catch the thief? This story has relevance to what he said to the... So this is how it is. What he is saying is, you cannot cheat people by telling things which are not the ultimate truth. That is the story there. The story is, at the end of the day, I may be a pauper, I may be a CEO. When good hits me, bad hits me, I have to talk only the truth. Anything other than truth is a waste of time. He says, I should not go and chase this thief. I should wake him up. So we are all in life dreaming and sleeping. It's important that we should be shaken and woken up. All these are implied. People have analyzed that story with that, and that's how it is. So he said, give up the possessor too, is what he said. So that is what this is saying. Yena tejasi tat teja. In other words, everything should melt. That's why in Ishavasya Upanishad it says, avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya amritam ashnute. You can cross the ocean of birth and death by avidya. What is avidya? All these worldly activities, however correctly you do, is still all classified under avidya. But if you do it correctly, then you will definitely cross the ocean of birth and death. Whether you will reach your ultimate realization, this will not guarantee, this will not tell you. That's why avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya amritam ashnute. That immortality comes only by realization of the knowledge, but this crossing the ocean of birth and death is possible by good acts. So by good acts, you can only cross the ocean of birth and death, but you will not realize. Of course, the point is, if we can do it, we will be in such a frame of mind, we will automatically come to the other side. That's implied in the story anyway. In Chandogya Upanishad, there is a conversation about birth and death and so on. See, there is something called Ishta and Purta. There are two Vedic rituals called Ishta and Purta. In several mantras also it comes. If some of you utter the mantra, you will find Ishta, Purta will come. Ishta is what you do for your desire. Right ways, honestly, I'm not talking about immoral ways and putra kama ishti. That's why ishti is called ishtis. You desire and you do. I want good health, I want child, I want prosperity, peace. Maybe you do. It's called ishta. Okay? That is what you think is good for you. There is something called purta. Purta is what is good for common good. And the examples given generally are digging a well, building a chaul tree for the poor to stay, annadana, or a school. There is not necessarily what is in for me. I am doing for common good. In our scheme of things, they say we must do ishta and purta. Correct? Now, in Chandogya Upanishad, I have actually stunned when I read it. Chandogya Upanishad says, if you do purta, it says what kind of a birth you will get. I don't find it to be anything very, spectacular. So what it means is, you will get punya. From that you will get swarga, which is this holiday timeshare. Be there for some time and then come back. So the quantum of punya will give you 3 days, 4 days or month or whatever, but then you have to return back. So punya is, so ishta purta will give you punya. That's why avidya, a clean act, honest living is a necessary condition but not a sufficient condition. That's what I am coming to. It is only a necessary condition but not a sufficient condition. That's why, karmaha chitta suddhyate na vastu upalabhyate. Vastuhu upalabhyate. In Viveka Chudamani he says, Vastu siddhi vicharena na kinchit karma koti bihi. So it doesn't mean give up work. You clean up work, that's a necessary condition. Then you work on the sufficient condition. Then you reach. That's the second part. It will take us automatically there. So that's what he's saying in this particular shloka. Then with this, more or less, it is over. Then up to 73rd shloka, there are some few things. He talks about what happens when you teach, what happens when you learn. A couple of shlokas are there. I just picked up one shloka from there. So first of all, he says, who is not qualified to learn the Gita? Okay? He says, idam te na tapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana nacha asusrushave vachyam nacha mam yo ab asuyati. So he says, one who tapas, atapas is one who doesn't do tapas. Don't give. So that is another negative. This a for the tapas is the negative of the tapas. Right? Idam te don't give this. That should be stopped there. Then atapaskaya, one who does not do tapas. What is tapas? Tapas is a way by which we have indriya nigraha. We need a little bit of discipline in life. I have many times said, otherwise we will be hopelessly competing with animals. It is a hopeless fight with animals. I don't think we can, let our sensory organs play, we will be only, finding our place in the animal kingdom. So tapas is that bit of discipline, that mental refinement. Jnana, Bhagavaha Jnana tapasaha puta madbhavam agataha is what he said in the 10th shloka in chapter 4. So the Jnana tapas is that mental, that refine your thoughts, refine your senses, refine your perspectives, go up and up in that. So if people are not doing it, don't waste time. Because it is evolving yourself to a true human being from an animal kind of a situation. All these are with us. We have to make a choice. So tapas is a mechanism by which we become more refined. We understand the role of the sensory organs and the role of this great possibility that the divine force has created only for human beings, who has the power to reflect and think and take independent course of action, which none other creatures can do. Only human beings can do. A tapas is a mechanism in which we activate that faculty very strongly, in a way. So he says, if people are not like that, don't give, because it is like giving a gadget to somebody who doesn't know what to do with that. They will use sandalwood and cook their breakfast. It's like that. They don't know the value of sandalwood, they will cook breakfast with that. So in a way, competing with some of the other religious missionaries and in the railway stations and bus stands giving Bhagavad Gita book is something which I am not very much pleased with. Personally, I am not very pleased with, because I find many of those books are just getting wasted. So that's what we need to, adhikara is required. In fact, there is this story, I think it is in Bhagavatam, I think Mahabharata only later, after everything is over, Arjuna again asked Krishna, you told all that Gita, can you tell again? He said, no, that Arjuna is not there and that Krishna is also not there. See, adhikari is not, it is, a very, very important condition. Don't just, make it to everyone, on the street side and so on, put it onto the loudspeakers, and it has no value. It has no value. It can only work counterways with means. That's why he says, na atapaskaya. For those who don't have this notion that I have to be evolved, I can have a certain higher thought processes, I endear for it, such people only you should give. Na bhakta abhaktaya. Again, all these, there are two negatives. Na plus abhaktaya, na bhaktaya. So bhakta, abhakta, na, don't give. So the first negative is don't give. Second negative is the negative of the main word. Bhakta, abhakta, tapaska, atapaska. So those who don't have the sense of devotion don't give. These are the elements of adhikaritva. Who has adhikara? Not everyone. Even for a small MBA exam, we put a CAT exam here. That is adhikara. We have found a way of finding an adhikara. Everything for which you have to have a way of finding who is the adhikari. So that is what he is talking about. Na abhaktaya kadachana, never. Kadachana means never, not any time. Kadachana. Nacha asusrusha. Again, there are two negatives there. Na cha and then asusrushave. Susrusha, shru is to hear. Susrusha is one who is willing to hear, one who is inclined to hear. See, that is why, in a pravachan, we find people, in fact, some people go to pravachan, they get good sleep for an hour. Otherwise, they are suffering from sleep. So, that is one variety. Another variety, there are people in the pravachan, but their mind is the chapel will be lost or not. New chapel I have now bought last week. So, they are all, their body may be, hearing is not easy, sitting is not hearing. Hearing is the mind, the buddhi and the chitta must, along with the faculty of hearing, otherwise sound will come, it will not transmit. So that is what is so interest. People who have no interest, who are so distracted with 100 things, no point in telling them. So susrusha also means helping others. That's another word they use. Susrusha. Actually, Sanskrit, you should look at the dhatu pata. Susrusha means, the core meaning of susrusha is one who listens. If I have to do susrusha to you, I should listen to what you say. You ask me to get a cup of water, I should give you a cup of water. If you ask me to fan me for 5 minutes, I have to fan you for 5 minutes. If you ask me, get me a pillow, that is called susrusha. So the core meaning is one who listens. Now a person who does susrusha for an elder, first requirement he has to listen to what he says. That's how the word comes. That's why they use it there also. But the core meaning and meaning here is one who is inclined mentally, physically, every ways to focus the attention on this pravachana or on this text. So that is the meaning of here. Na asrushave vachyam nachamam yaha ab asuyati. One who cavils at me, one who has no shraddha, doesn't believe, just for time pass he comes and sits here, he or she is also wasting, I am also wasting. That is how it is. So that's what he says. These are the 4 conditions he has put for adhikara, for Bhagavad Gita. Then there are 2 shlokas on what happens when you teach Gita. I think this is our greatest motivation in our own ways. We can teach our children the shlokas. We can, in many ways we can teach. I think it's very, very important for us to do. It's a great Brahma Yajna that we have to do. So he says 2 shlokas. I just picked up 1 shloka out of that. He says, idam paramam guhyam mat bhakteshu abhidasyati bhaktim mai param kritva mameva eshyasi asamshayah. Full of disclaimers. Gita is full of disclaimers. No doubt you will come to me. In the website they put a disclaimer at the end, negative disclaimer. They're all positive. So I should not call it a disclaimer. They are claimers. Disclaimer is not the correct word. They are claimers actually. So Mameva Esyeshi 5-6 times you will see. In Bhagavad Gita alone, Mameva Esyeshi 5-6 times. Just now we saw a few slokas back. 7th sloka in chapter 8. He says, Tasmat Mam, Sarveshu Kaleshu Mam Anusmara Yudhyacha Mayarpita Mayo Buddhihi Mameva Esyeshi Nasamshaya. Like that, there is one sloka there. So these are all claimers, positive claimers. So what he says is, Paramam Guhyam, Idam Paramam Guhyam, this profoundest truth that you see here, that Yaha, that person, Mad Bhakteshu Abhidasyati, he is able to share this thought with people who have Shraddha, who have the desire to know and become better in their life. Mad Bhakteshu Abhidasyati. And how? Param Bhaktim Kritva. The person must have his own little sadhana and bhakti. Otherwise, it loses all its value straight. Because there is no credibility to the whole thing. That's why he says, Param Bhaktim, Mayi Param Bhaktim Kritva. With great devotion unto me, if that person shares this to the person who also has a devotion. Correct? So, Mayi Param Bhaktim Kritva, if any Yaha Idam Paramam Guhyam Mad Bhagdeshu Abhidasyati. So, this is how we have to read the shloka now. The prose order is like this. Mayi Param Bhaktim Kritva, showing the greatest devotion in me, Yaha, that person, Idam Paramam Guhyam, this profoundest truth, Mad Bhakteshu Abhidasyati, if he is able to give it to my bhaktas, Mameva Eshyasi Asamshaya. So he will reach. So we will all can reach. We can teach all our children this shloka. Greatest thing that can happen is to learn this between the age of 8 and 13. It's like camphor. The mind is like camphor. Once you say, they will learn. You don't have to waste your time. We are all really struggling because we are learning it much later. The greatest, yajna that we can do of the Pancha Yajnas, one is called Brahma Yajna. And what is Brahma Yajna? It is handing down generation after generation after generation the greatest knowledge our ancestors have given. That is called Brahma Yajna. We have a responsibility, otherwise we are so selfish. We just learn and then we don't even bother what our sons and daughters do. We maintain such a healthy distance from them. This is sheer selfishness, it is foolishness too. I think we all have a responsibility to hand it down to the next generation. That's why in Taittiriya Upanishad I put it at the bottom. He says, Satyancha Swadhyaya Pravachane Dharmam cha Swadhyaya Pravachane Ritancha Swadhyaya Pravachane. All that, there are half a dozen are there. Swadhyaya and Pravachana. You self-reflect, understand, and when I go to one of my ex-colleague, he was my teacher here. So my colleague here, he was teaching in one of the departments here. Great Sanskrit Pandit. Wonderful. So I learned Vyakarana from him. So Guru Purnima, I will go and then I will take all my thing and give it to him. He says, Mahadevan, no. I don't need all this. You tell me you will teach Vyakarana to 12 people. He says, that is the Guru Dakshina you can give me. Very nicely he will say. Not that he wouldn't take. That is the Swadhyaya and Pravachana. I think the benefit that we have got, we have a responsibility to tell it to one person at least. It's very, very important. That is Brahma Yajna. So I think we all are very, very capable of doing it and we must do it. This great piece of knowledge should not suffer as it is suffering in the hands of ignorant people in this country. It's hugely suffering. I mean, it is not suffering. We are suffering, actually speaking. It cannot suffer. I think we are suffering in the process. I think we have a responsibility to do that. That's what he is saying here, and we will all reach. With all that bhakti, we will reach him. Then he talks, there is a shloka on what happens. Adyeshyate cha yaha imam dharmyam samvadam avayoho Jnana yajjena tena aham ishtaha syam iti me matihi. He says, I will tell you my opinion, Arjuna. I will tell you me matihi. This is my mind or my opinion. Me matihi syat. Iti. Syama iti. It is, my opinion is like this. Syam iti is what he says. My opinion is as follows. What is that? He says, Yaha, that person, imam dharmyam, and what is that dharmyam? Samvadam avayoho, the conversation that happened between the two of us, which is what the 692 shlokas up to this shloka. There are only 8 more shlokas left, so up to this is the count is 692. So these 692 shlokas of conversation that has happened between the two of us, samvadam avayoho, avayoho is V2, it's the dvivachana of aham, avam, vayam, avayoho. Asmakam, all those. So between the conversation that has happened between the two of us, and what is that? That is dharmyam. What is that? That is the code for living. Bhagavad Gita is a life science. It is not a text for parayana. Never. I think it is a text for living. It is a text for finding that shanti and samriddhi and amritam in us. It is that text. That's why it is dharmyam. Imam dharmyam, and dharmyam is what? It is that has come through this conversation. Avayoho samvadam. Yaha adhyeshyate, one who studies this adhyanam, madtare, does this adhyana, and you know what he is doing? He says he is doing jnana yajna. That's what he says. He says, Tena jnana yajna, by this act that they are doing, they are actually doing a jnana yajna, ishtahasyam. They will become closer to me. So that's what he says for the people who do a swadhyaya of this text. So that's what he says. Then there are 2 shlokas I just skipped because it's a very clean shloka. Krishna asks, are you now absolved of delusion? And Arjuna says, I am absolved of delusion. So I have just left that shlokas. It is a very mechanically 2 shlokas. Then Sanjaya comes. So far, he has been on the ring side, and of course he started. He came at the beginning, and Sutradhari is coming at the end again. So Sanjaya comes and makes 5 nice observations. 3 shlokas or 4 shlokas I have taken out of it. Sanjaya uvacha iti ityaham vasudevasya parthasya cha mahatmanah samvadam imam asrausham adbhutam romaharshanam. So he says, iti, thus, aham, I, vasudevasya parthasya cha mahatmanah, these 2 great souls called Vasudeva and Partha, the conversation, the samvada that happened between Vasudeva and Partha, who are 2 greatest souls, because, why they are greatest souls and how they are greatest souls. In the last shloka of Bhagavad Gita, he also nicely says that. He says, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanudra. It's also there anyway. But they are no ordinary individuals, both of them. And the whole playing out of this Gita and this Arjuna's delusion are all an opportunity for us to reflect. I don't think it is meant for Krishna or Arjuna. This is a great opportunity. They have shown all their divine kindness to play it out. It's like this. People always ask, how can you say that? And how do you really say that? In fact, people ask, what will happen to, Hiranyakashipu, all these evil characters, what will happen and all these? I always say they all are actually gods. Then people are not very happy about it. So my only answer is, I go and see a drama. I just go and see a drama. In drama there are evil characters. Actually the person who do evil character may be an extraordinarily pure person in life. It is just a drama at the end of the day. So this shows childish to think that this person played very evil. That a 1-year child will think like that because it has ignorance. So a 1-year child will think a person who played an evil role, he'll tell father that uncle is coming here, very bad person. He killed that or shouted at him and so on. So these characters are like that. These are all, Leela Vinoda. These are all preordained, these are all drama for us. These entire characters which come through all these Puranas and this our entire body of knowledge is at one level nothing but a drama through which the ideas are brought. That is what we do. We do what is called role playing in the class. Sometimes, in our MBA class, we do role playing. Are you telling me are those 2 people are managers or are those two people are suppliers and buyers? No. we have taken a particular method by which we are able to communicate it very effectively, bring all the concepts, get ourselves engaged into it, and today's modern TV has taken it to such a level that they bring all these mega serials in the same way. So anyway, so that is why they are Mahatmanaha. So he says this samvada which happened between Vasudeva and Partha, who are these two great souls, aham imam samvadam, this conversation, asrausham, which is a past tense. Asrausham is a anadyatana bhutakala prayoga actually. So asrausham. So he says, I heard this adbhutam and romaharshanam. It is a hair-raising experience for me. It's a great piece. Why? Because Shankaracharya says, I think he says in the end of chapter 9, I think, in his Bhashya, I don't exactly remember, I think chapter 9 at the end, he says, Sarva Vedanta Sara Sangraha. Bhuta Sara Sangraha. He uses a very big word. He says, what do you think this Gita is? It is actually taking this entire Vedantic knowledge, churn it, and then just take that little bit of Navanita and give it to you. Sarva Vedanta Sara Sangraha Sambhuta, some big word he uses there. That is why this is Adbhutam. I mean, the greatness of Bhagavad Gita lies there. Brahma Sutra is very difficult to understand. Sutras are generally difficult to understand. Easy to memorize and keep, but to keep it in memory and make use of it, you have to understand. These 540, 50 sutras will need about easily 1,000 hours of intensive discussion between a very competent person and a seeker. Brahma, it's not possible. Adhyatma Brahma Jignasa, you need about 5 hours. Janmadhyasya Yonihi, you need another 10 hours. These are all small sutras. First sutra is Adhyatma, Brahma Jignasa. Second is Janmadhyasya. So all text, Janmadhyasya, it's a very deep thing. So Brahma Sutra is difficult. Upanishads are the next level of difficulty because they are also good artha. This is the God-given thing. So easy. Sarala, these slokas are very sarala. Little Sanskrit is enough actually, and through this we can actually build Sanskrit also. That is another advantage of this. Little Sanskrit is enough. Basic working knowledge of Sanskrit is because we are all in our native tongue, uses many of these words. Just need a little bit of tense, a little bit of these things. That is the greatness of this text. Very profound ideas are put in very simple ways. That is why it is Adbhutam. It is Sarva Vedanta Sara Sangraha. That is the charm of this text. So he says, it is a hair-raising experience for me. Romaharshanam. This experience is hair-raising experience for me, is what he says. Then he says, Vyasa prasadat shrutavan etat guhyam aham param yogam yogeshwarat krishnat sakshat katayataha swayam. He says, by the divine grace of Vyasa. Vyasa is an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya, Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave is what we say. He is a divine incarnation of Lord Vishnu. He says, Vyasa Prasadat, because of the divine grace of Vyasa, Shrutavan etat, I was able to hear. It's a past participle. Shrutavan is a past participle. I was able to hear. Shrutavan etad guhyam, paramam guhyam. So he says it is profound, it is the ultimate truth, it is the profoundest truth I was able to hear thanks to the divine grace of Vyasa. That's how it starts. The whole thing starts like that. Okay? Yogam Yogeshwarat, this paramam yogam. This, that's why every chapter is also titled as yoga. Right? Paramam yogam. And who has said it? Yoganam Ishwaraha, Yogeshwaraha, the Lord of the Yoga, Yogeshwarat Krishnat Sakshat. I have had the direct benefit of hearing directly. See, I have a personal desire. I want to see Videha Mukta Brahmagyani direct. I am only reading. This is my desire. I hope God gives me that kind of a thing. One day I want to see, because that will be an electrifying experience. That's what people write about Ramana Maharishi, Ramaharshi Paramasa. I keep reading. I get very excited. Why did I not was born 100 years back or something? Right? Ramana Maharishi was born in the next street where I was born. Yeah, he was so close, but 100 years away or something. I don't know what it is. No, so what I am saying is that Sakshat has a meaning. These Avatara Purushas are like 10,000 volts, kilovolts, electric shock. You come near them, the field will act on you. That's what people keep recounting experiences. That's why the Sakshat is itself makes me think, what an effect this man should. So Roma Arshana, I am not at all surprised. Even some very nice people who are little divine, we feel good here. Now we are talking about Avatara Purusha in person. That's what he is saying here. So this word Sakshat has a lot of meaning for me. I only wish there is a possibility for all of us that we see one Avatara Purusha. God should be, so kind to us. Should show that for a minute. We will be transformed magically, and I think that grace will come. Anyway, we will keep trying. That will happen. That's what he says. Sakshat Katayataha Swayam. He himself has given the greatest truth. Right? People, pay a lot of money to have a direct audience with, let's say, if you have A.R. Rahman comes here, you pay 10,000 rupees and come in. Because that is the value of Sakshat. Na? So we are talking of a divinity. So this is a very big thing. And why? Because he got the Divya Chakshuhu. Very expensive. It's an indication. All that I am saying that Sakshat has a lot of meaning. I think Avatara Purusha, I cannot imagine, we have no words to describe, we can only keep guessing in the ringside. Because he got the Divya Chakshu, which Arjuna was given in Dadami Te Divya Chakshuhu, the Drishta Me Rupam Aishwaram is what he said in 11th chapter 6th sloka or 5th sloka. That Divya Chakshus was given to Sanjaya at the very beginning. Vyasa Prasadat. So that's what he is saying here. Then he is in ecstasy. These two slokas are all his ecstasy. He says, hey Rajan, he tells Dhritarashtra, hey Rajan, samsmritya samsmriti. See, when you are in great ecstasy, you tell twice. You say 2 times, that's a force of your, no, I like it. So you say you like it once, you say 2 times. There's a meaning, na? We understand what it is. So in both the slokas, you'll find everything repeated 2 times. It shows the power of his, he's just pouring his experience. We can visualize that in whatever ways we can. Rajan samsmritya samsmritya samvadam imam adbhutam keshavarjunayoho punyam hrishyami cha muhurmuhu. So again there is a repeated use there. I am just reveling in this memory. Samsmritya, samyak smrami. Samsmritya. Again and again this thought is such a nice thought is coming into my mind again and again. Rajanna, what? The Keshavarjunayoho samvadam. Adbhutam samvadam, that comes to my mind again and again. It is reveling in my mind and it lifts me. I am so happy. Muhurmuhu, again and again this experience I am going through is what he says. Muhurmuhu punyam hrishyami. I am able to be in that great feeling again and again. Again he has used 2 times, again and again. That's what he says in the 76th sloka. Then he says, Tat cha samsmritya samsmritya. Having thought about, thinking about it. Again he uses 2 times. Tat cha samsmritya samsmritya. Rupam atyadbhutam harehe. He had the benefit of the Vishwarupa darshan. That's why he narrated it. Right? He says, because he said, Sahasra, that was Sanjaya Uvacha there. If you look at chapter 11, Sanjaya made that. He said, Aneka Vaktra Radanam, Aneka Adbhuta Darshanam, Aneka Divyavaranam, Divyanu, Yutam, all those are there. Divi Surya Sahasrasya, Basa, Yugapat Udita, Basa, Sadisi Sat, Basastasya Mahatmana. Sanjaya said that. So he had not only the conversation, God blessed him with that Vishwarupa darshan also. So that is what he is recollecting here. Because that 9th shloka in chapter 11 is that Aneka, it says Divi Surya Sahasrasya Basa Sadrishi Sat Yukapat Utita Basa Sadrishi Sat Basastasya Mahatmana. Sanjaya says that. So that is what he is recollecting here. Tacha samsmritya samsmritya rupam atyadbhutam harehe Vismayaha me mahan vismayaha. Sma, the root sma from which smile has come. Sma is smile, actually. So vismaya, that feeling of goodness, right? So vismayaha, mahan vismayaha me rajan hrishyami cha punaha. I am reveling on that thought again and again. So the words are repeating in me. The Vishwarupa darshan is in so my two indriyas are now surrendered to him. Is what he is saying. And my mind is anyway surrendered to him. Is what he is saying. That's what Sanjaya says in those two slokas. Then he ends with a masterpiece. The greatest, one of the greatest slokas in Bhagavad Gita is the last sloka of Bhagavad Gita, which Sanjaya said. So he said, Yatra Yogeshwaraha Krishnaha, Yatra Partho Dhanurdaraha, Tatra Shrihi Vijayo Bhutihi, Dhrivanitihi Matihi Mama. So he said, finally he puts his observation on this whole thing. So he says, Yatra Yogeshwaraha, Yoganam Ishwaraha Yogeshwaraha, Yatra Yogeshwaraha Krishnaha, so that is the adjective for Krishna. Yatra Parthaha Dhanurdaraha, the adjective for Partha is Dhanurdara. Because one of the best adjectives for Partha is Dhanurdara. That's why it's called Savyasachin. Left hand he can fight. Look at the Swayamvara, what a complicated thing which he did. Right? So Dhanurdara is one of the best adjectives for Partha. And Yogeshwara is one of the greatest adjectives for Vishnu, Krishna. Right? So what is he saying in the first line? There's a very profound idea he is saying. If you have a very competent teacher and you have a very competent student, that's why the adjectives are very special. Dhanurdaraha is a very competent student. That's the best adjective for Arjuna. And Yogeshwaraha. Yoga, he is the Lord of the Yoga Maya, actually. So that talks about the greatness of the teacher. So when there is the greatest teacher and the greatest student can get together, what will happen? This is his final conclusion. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishnaha, Yatra Partho Dhanurdaraha, he says what will happen? Tatra Shrihi. First there will be prosperity. Material and whatever prosperity you want to call. Shrihi. Vijayaha. It will lead to success. Whatever is the initiative, it will lead to success. That's the second that he says. Bhutihi. Bhuti, chapter 10 is called Vibhuti Yoga. Bhuti is the power of manifestation. That's why people who apply this, they call it as Vibhuti. You manifest the divinity. That's the idea there. See, Shaivites and all those, they put this. It's called Vibhuti. Why? Bhuti means, see, Bhu. Bhuti comes from Bhu. Sanskrit dhatu called Bhu Satayam. Is there. Bhu means is there. So Bhuti is showing it is there. Showing what is there. Divinity is there. That is called Bhuti. Bhuti is divine manifestation. So that is what he is saying. That's why chapter 10 was called Vibhuti Yoga. I am showing you the divine manifestation is what he said in chapter 10. So it will be prosperity, it will be success, it will be divine manifestation, which is very, very important in anything, right? And nitihi, dhriva nitihi, let it be there. So he says dhriva is, unshaken, unwavering. There are different ways people interpret this. So dhriva nitihi, unquenching establishment of dharma is one method to say. Another method to say is that dhriva can be used for everything. Dhriva nitihi, dhriva matihi mama. This is my unwavering opinion. I am very convinced. I have seen through the game now is what he is saying. I am convinced if you have the greatest teacher and the greatest student, nothing can go wrong. It will be all prosperity, divine manifestation, success in the endeavors and establishment of dharma. And I have an unwavering understanding and belief in it, is what Sanjaya says, and then completes this Bhagavad Gita with this shloka. I just, a few minutes I want to just offer a little bit of thoughts. Having, just gone over it, I was just... So all that I would like to say is Bhagavad Gita, I've been also, God has been kind to me. I have also been reflecting on this, in many ways. I think this forum has given me the greatest opportunity. I think I should offer all my gratitude to each one of you. Otherwise, I don't get this joy of doing it every Monday. But, I have been thinking, what do we do with this Bhagavad Gita? So, I have been personally also grappling these ideas. I thought I will there are at least a few ideas which certain level of half-baked clarity you can say like that, right? First thing I realized is Bhagavad Gita is not just for knowledge. In fact, again, Ramana Maharishi, there was one Devaraja Mudaliyar, he's a well-known advocate in Chennai, was a well-known advocate, well-known personality. So he went, I think, to Ramana Maharishi and he asked him, so Bhagavan, I have been reading Bhagavad Gita, I have been seeing Bhagavad Gita, I have mentioned it long back once in this class. I have been seeing these Bhagavad Gita again and again, I am going nowhere. Like that he was asking. In the sense I am not making progress. Then again in his very characteristic style, Ramana Maharishi said, Bhagavad Gita all the time was saying, look at you and you are looking at it. You are looking at the book, it is asking you to look at you. Like that he said. The point is, I think this knowledge must take us to, the Shravana must take us to Manana and Nididhyasa. That's what Yajnavalkya told his beloved wife. He says, Shrotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nididhyasitavyaha is what he said. So I think it's very, very important. So from that position, I will say Bhagavad Gita is not for knowledge or knowledge alone. Maybe I can add an alone at the side of it. I very quite convinced today Bhagavad Gita, for that matter, or any of these ancient Indian wisdom, it can be Puranas, it can be Upanishads, I am absolutely clear now. It is not for memorizing and reeling it out without looking at the book. All those can at best increase our Ahankara coefficient by a few magnitude. I am very convinced. So, in fact, I have forgotten most of the slokas because I am overly convinced of this idea, which is also not a very good thing. But I think some people get into that chakkar. Oh no, I know I can tell all these slokas, and that distracts us from, he has shown us a great path in front of us. I think we should be very careful about it. Sometimes this can overpower us. This very fact that we are able to find meaning and maybe memorize it, we are able to tell it just like that, can be a great distraction. I think that part we have to be absolutely clear about that. On the other hand, to me it appears at every turn of event, that is what pushed me into offering the elective in this institute, which people are so happy. I am happy, they are very happy, right? I find this is the greatest practical Vedanta test, as Swami Vivekananda used the word practical Vedanta. It's very practical. I don't find anything impractical in this. It is one baby step at a time. It's such a nice thing if you only have the patience and we are willing to put that Shraddha which Krishna has talked about. I think it's a great text. It's a great Shastra, but written it so open, no restrictions on who can read and who cannot read. It belongs to none of those restrictions. Shrutis have restrictions. Smriti, this is a Smriti Prasthana. It is not a Shruti Prasthana. This is a Smriti. Smriti has no restriction. Anybody can read anywhere. There is no Varnashrama restrictions. Where, Shruti, there are, Ashrama Varnashrama restrictions are there. This is a great text. It's completely no holds barred. It's a great practical Vedanta text. I think the greatest value we will have is really make an effort to apply it in our daily life. There is no need to wait. We don't have to say, I'm this old, that old. I don't think. Because in chapter 6 he said, Na kaschit kalyanakrit durgatim tata gacchati. He said, you can start effort at any time. It never goes waste. That is the greatest Shraddha with which I think it is very important we start it. And I am very encouraged to say that a smallest hairline crack is all that the greatest dam in this world need. One day it will explode. The hydrostatics will start working. We need a very thin hairline crack. That's enough. It may take time. One day it will give way. Slowly the pressure will work. That's what I think. Because this is another problem sometimes, we also genuinely think. We think it's just overwhelming. There are about 100 ideas that we find here. Then do we take all the 100 at a time? And I think the greatest value, or little personal experience I am sharing. I think the greatest value of these texts are to take that one baby step. One baby step is all that we need. It will open up. So that's why he said in chapter 2, he said, Swalpamapi dharmasya mahato bhayatrayate. That is what he said. You do a little bit. It will greatly protect you from a lot of things, is what he said in chapter 2. I think every shloka has a lot of practical relevance. In fact, one of my dream, I have been writing one article per month. One of my dream is also to write, I don't know whether I can write all the 700, certainly about 200 articles on just, also showing in our day-to-day life, we can take a shloka and reflect on it. That is, I think this is a great text, and I think we must do that. And it's a great opportunity that we have got to come. I tell 1,000 times that coming on a Monday like this is, we can say we are finding it easy. It is impossible. Our samskaras have been enormously cleaned. Otherwise, we will never come here. I am very clear on that. It is impossible to come here. Our buddhi will take us somewhere. Fact, we are coming here, our samskaras are phenomenally cleaned. We have to ride on that strength in life. We have to look for these cues in life. I think it's a great opportunity that we created for ourselves. Been doing it for the last 4.5 years, which we have brought it to one level today. But I think many of us are so much used to Monday. Now we have to find some ways of spending this Monday, which I think we will do. We will find a way of doing it. So with these few words, I think that's why in Bhajagovindam, look at this, it's a beautiful text. This 33 Moha Mudgara, 33 shlokas. There is only one text which has found 2 times reference. He says, Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram. Right? That is one. Bhagavad Gita Kinchidadita. This text is so important. Adi Shankaracharya has used twice in that small little piece alone. Once he said, Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram. Deyam Sripati Rupam Ajasram. Deyam Dina Janayacha Vittam. So nicely he said. He said, Geyam, sing. Sing meaning, do Parayana. When you do Parayana, you can also reflect on the meaning. Gita and Nama Sahasram. See, he left the front part. You can do Vishnu Sahasranama, you can do Lalita Sahasranama, you can do Shiva Sahasranama. Your Ishta Devata, please do it. What is there? And that's why he said Nama Sahasram. Geyam Gita Nama Sahasram. Deyam, do Dhyana of Shripati, Shriyaha Pati, Vishnu, Ajasram, right? One who is beyond birth and death. Then Deyam Dina Janaya Chavittam. And Neyam Sajjana Sange Chittam. Take your thought process to Satsanga. That's what he said. In another sloka, he said, Bhagavad Gita Kinchidadita. Read a little Bhagavad Gita. Kinchit. He is not even saying all the 700 slokas. He says, Bhagavad Gita Kinchidadita, Ganga Jalalava Kanika Pita. One amount of water which can immerse one masha, one black doll, half broken black doll. That is what that meaning of that second part is. Kanika, that is a Kanika Pitwa. He says, Sukrutapi ena murari samarcha, kriyete tasya yamena na charcha. Yama will not come and pick up argument with you if you do these simple things. But anyway, that's on, while he said that, I think Bhagavad Gita has been a very central piece. I think the 3 great acharyas in the south, in fact, that's why this paddhati of, Prasthanatraya Bhashya. Anybody who has a Siddhanta, Visishta Advaita, Dvaita, Advaita, everybody has to write Bhashya for 3 Prasthanas. The Shruti Prasthana, which is the 10 Upanishads, the Smriti Prasthana, which is Bhagavad Gita, and the Sutra Prasthana, which is Brahma Sutra. This occupies such a very prominent place. And in this country, we are today, struggling to find out what to do with this text. Such a wonderful text. I think let the grace of Lord Krishna be bestowed on us. I think we all want that fullness in our life. And I want to pray to the Almighty, Yogeshwara Krishna, that He will lead us with all that Shanti, Samriddhi and Amritam. And with that, I think we should bring it to the close. So, Om Tat Saditi, Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishatsu, Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre, Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade, Moksha Sannyasa Yogo Nama Ashtadashodhyayah. And our sampradaya is always to start the first, because this must be an ongoing thing. So let us say the first shloka and then get prepared for the Akhanda Parayana. Dhritarashtra Uvacha Dharmakshetre Kurukshetre Samaveta Yutsavaha Mamaka Pandavaschaiva Kimakurvata Sanjaya. With that we will bring this to a closure. Next week I said we will meet, and there are some 10-12 very nice shlokas, Gita Dhyana. We haven't for some reason seen it at all, so I was suggesting we will see. There is a slight uncertainty because I have to go to Trichy. I have a 10 o'clock bus ticket and a 7 o'clock train ticket they are going to try. So in case I get a 7 o'clock train ticket, we will not have the class. Otherwise, we will have the class 10 o'clock. I have enough time to finish this and go. So Sunday anyway we will decide. Then we will communicate. I also want to, Bala and they have been sending this, but I don't find some of you in the mailing list. So let me just also tell you that we all thought, why don't we have Akhanda Parayana, because we have so much been doing this, and I think many like the idea. So on 7th of, and also happens to be Gita Jayanti is on 2nd December, which is on a Tuesday, being a working day. We have gone to the following weekend, which is Sunday. So on Sunday we will have a Gita Akhanda Parayana. So it's a great opportunity to participate. If we can recite, we will recite. Otherwise we will follow, we will close and meditate. Anything we can do. I think that satsanga and Vatavarna is what is very, very important. So please, all of you come. Let us invite each other, in that sense. Collectively we want to do this. So what we are thinking is, there is a temple not too far away from here. It's called Ram Mandir, just behind the, that bus route. Is that right in the eastern main road?
Yeah, eastern main road.
In the eastern main road only it is there. It's a very easily locatable. What we are thinking is around 8:45, if we can assemble in the morning, we will do a puja. Maybe about half an hour we can do a puja for Yogeshwara Krishna. And then around 9:30 if we start, in about 2.5 hours we'll be able to easily, little faster, but we can easily finish the Parayana. It's a great opportunity to be part of it. I have that experience many times in my life before. After a long time I have tried, we will do it. So we will have a Parayana 9:30 to 12. Please come. Even if you are finding it coming at 8:45, please come at 9:30. At least join, or even if 9:45 is also, please come. Take part in the Parayana. And then we will have, I have requested my Guru to come and lead the whole event for the day. I have requested him to do the puja and also lead the Parayana, and he very kindly has agreed. I am very grateful to him for that. So I have also asked him to say a few words. So 12 to 12, 15, 12, 20, half an hour I will request him to talk. Then we can have Ashtanga Seva and finish the puja. And then we'll have Mahaprasada and partake the food, and we can disperse. I didn't find some of your names in the, I think Priya's name I didn't find, for example, in the, so that's why I thought I am now going to look at some more, and then I will anyway send. But since you are here, sir, please come. I wanted to tell you also. Please come and join, and all of you. With that, I think we will bring it to a close. Maybe we will utter a Shanti Mantra, and then we will end this. Sahana Bhavatu, we can say. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma virdvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Sri Krishnarpanamastu. Shri Guru Charanaravindarpanamastu. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you. I know.